Growing up, I always felt like the other one in my family. My cousins were doctors, engineers, or married to someone impressive. My older sister married a guy who made 6 figures by 27. My younger brother was already working in finance, while finishing his degree. And me? Well, at 27, I was living in a shared apartment with peeling paint and working on an online business that hadn't made a single cent yet. So every time we had a family dinner or a holiday gathering, I was the target. Still job hunting? Must be nice to live rent-free in someone else's place. Maybe if you stopped playing entrepreneur and got a real job. My uncles chuckled. My aunts nodded in passive-aggressive sympathy. My parents sat in silence. I think they were just tired of defending me. One dinner stands out. It was a year before everything changed. I was passing around salad when my cousin, the one who liked to show off his Tesla, said, "Hey, when your business fails, you should write a book. How to be broke in 10 easy steps." Everyone laughed. Hard. Even my dad smiled uncomfortably. I didn't laugh. I didn't say anything. I just stood up, excused myself, and left. No one followed me. No one called. No one cared. I didn't go home that night. I stayed at a friend's place and promised myself one thing. I was going to make it, and no one would see it coming. The next 6 months were brutal. I doubled down on my small startup, an online platform I'd been designing for small local businesses to manage inventory and online orders. Nothing fancy, nothing revolutionary. Just something. Useful, I skipped birthdays, missed weddings. I worked late into the night, lived off instant noodles, and took freelance gigs to stay afloat. By month 7, a local restaurant chain signed on. Then another. Word spread. Investors got interested. By month 10, we had 5 employees, a real office, tiny but ours, and 2 investors on board. At month 12, we closed a deal that changed everything, and that's when the real moment came. It was a Thursday. I remember because I almost canceled the meeting due to a migraine. My assistant told me a group from a mid-sized logistics company was coming in to explore a partnership for their retail clients. I walked into the conference room and nearly stopped in my tracks. There they were, my uncle, my cousin, and my sisters, boyfriend, all sitting around the table, papers in hand. They didn't recognize me at first. Why would they? Last time they saw me, I was just the jobless guy who brought salad. But when I took my seat at the head of the table and introduced myself, I'm Rian, founder and CEO of Grid Logic. Their faces dropped, mouths open. My uncle blinked twice. My cousin looked like someone had smacked the back of his head. I smiled politely. Let's get started, shall we? And that was just the beginning. The silence after I introduced myself was thick enough to cut with a knife. My uncle, who had once called me a grown child with internet delusions, suddenly couldn't look me in the eye. My cousin, who mocked my business cards as fantasy tokens, kept glancing at the nameplate on the door behind me. And my sister's boyfriend, the loudest one at that infamous dinner, looked like he'd swallowed his tongue. I didn't say anything personal. Not yet. I walked them through the presentation like I would with any other potential partner. Professional, calm, focused. But every time I explained a feature, mentioned a successful rollout, or outlined our profit growth, I could feel the tension mounting across the table. These weren't just clients. These were people who had convinced themselves I'd never amount to anything. They had come here expecting to deal with some corporate rep, not the same jobless burden who once left a dinner table in silence. Halfway through, my cousin finally spoke. So, wait. You built this whole thing yourself? I nodded. Started in my bedroom. But yeah, I had help later. We're a team of 11 now. My uncle cleared his throat. We had no idea you were doing this well. I smiled. Not smug, just steady. Most people didn't. After the meeting, I watched them shuffle out of the room with an awkward mix of respect and disbelief. And that would have been enough. But life had one more scene to serve. A few weeks later, I attended a relative's wedding, one of those giant family affairs with cousins you barely know and aunties who love to gossip. I hadn't planned on going, but my mom insisted. And by now, the story of that meeting had quietly leaked through the family grapevine. I figured, I might as well show my face. I expected tension, maybe polite fake smiles. What I didn't expect was the same old snickering. As I stood near the buffet, I overheard my cousin muttering to his brother, "Still can't believe Mr. Spreadsheet over. There runs a business, must be a fluke. Old habits die hard." But before I could say a word, someone else stepped up. It was my sister's boyfriend, the same guy who once said I'd end up fixing phones at a kiosk. He clapped me on the back, grinned, and said just loud enough for everyone to hear, "Hey boss, you still hiring? Might need a new job soon." The entire group went quiet. Jaws dropped. Even the DJ paused the music for a second, like the universe needed to hear that line clearly. I smiled. "Send me your resume." We both laughed, but the message landed. From that moment on, the whispers changed. So did the stares. I wasn't the burden anymore. I was the one they had underestimated, and now couldn't ignore. The wedding was the turning point. After that moment, after my sister's boyfriend publicly called me boss, people started treating me differently. The same relatives who used to skip over me during conversations were now suddenly interested, asking questions, smiling longer, calling me beta like they'd always been proud. It was fake, obviously, but I didn't need their approval anymore. That moment in the conference room, and then again at the wedding, that was for me. Still, the shift was surreal. A week later, I got a message from my cousin. The one with the Tesla and the how to be broke in 10 easy steps joke. "Hey man, just wanted to say, sorry if I was ever hard on you. Didn't mean anything by it. Family just jokes, you know. Congrats on everything. Really proud of you." Stared at it for a full minute. Then another message came in. Also, random, but is your company hiring? Asking for a friend. Me. Lol, I didn't reply. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I knew where it was coming from. He hadn't grown. He was just uncomfortable now that I wasn't below him anymore. But not every reaction was like that. A week after the wedding, I visited my parents. It had been a while since we sat down, just the three of us. My mom was in the kitchen, like always. My dad, quiet, reserved, waited until I was halfway through my chai before he finally spoke. "I'm sorry, son." I looked up. He wasn't looking at me. "We should have stood up for you. We should have believed in what you were trying to do. But we let them talk over you, and we let you walk out alone. I didn't expect that. For years, I thought they were ashamed of me. Maybe they were. Or maybe they were just scared. Scared I'd fail, and they wouldn't be able to save me. Either way, I didn't hold it against them anymore. "It's okay, Dad," I said. I needed to walk out alone. That's what made me build something that was mine. He finally looked up and gave me a smile I hadn't seen in years. Not a proud one. A relieved one. Later that night, I got another message. From my aunt this time. "Heard you're doing really well, Beta. You know your cousin is struggling. A bit now. Market's been tough. If you have anything open." I stared at the screen. The cousin who mocked me at every turn. The aunt who used to sigh dramatically any time I entered the room, like I was a stain on her couch. And now, they were asking me for help. I didn't respond right away, but I started thinking, could I really turn them away if I had the power? To help now, would helping them make me a fool or the better person? And more importantly, what happens when the people who tore you down need you to lift them up? I sat on the message from my aunt for 2 days. I reread it a dozen times. "Your cousin is struggling. If you have anything open." I knew what she meant. My cousin had been laid off. I'd heard it through the grapevine. The same guy. who once laughed at my $200 laptop, now needed a job. And now, ironically, I was in a position to give him one. I talked to my COO. We did have a role open, mid-level operations. Nothing fancy, but solid. Exactly what he needed. And I knew he could probably handle it. Still, I couldn't just forget everything. The dinners, the jokes, the eye rolls. The night I left and no one followed me. But then I remembered what I told myself when I walked away. I wasn't going to make it just to throw it in their faces. I was going to build something better, and that meant being better. So I sent my aunt a message back. We do have an opening, but I'd like to speak with him first, one-on-one. We met at a cafe. He came in wearing the same smug smile I remembered, like he still thought he could talk his way into anything. Man, this is wild. Never thought you'd be the one helping me out someday. I stayed quiet. I mean, you really turned things around. Respect, seriously. He leaned back, confident. So what's the job? I leaned forward. Before I offer anything, I need one thing. Yeah? What? I want you to say it. Say you were wrong. His smirk faded. What? Say you were wrong about me. About the jokes. About all of it. He looked away, fidgeted with the sugar packet. Look, we were just messing around. You know how it is. Family. No, I cut in. You weren't just messing around. You made sure I knew I wasn't welcome at the table unless I became someone else. So if you want this chance now, I need to hear you admit it. He looked stunned. And then, finally, he nodded. You're right. I was wrong. I was a jerk. And I didn't believe in you. Until I had to. It wasn't perfect, but it was real enough. So I gave him the job. He started the next week. Showed up on time. Worked hard. We didn't talk about the past again. We didn't have to. Every task he completed was a reminder that roles had shifted. And the rest of the family? They knew. Word spread fast. Not just that I gave him a job, but that I made him say it. At the next family dinner, the first one I'd attended since I walked out, there was no mocking, no snide comments, no laughter at my expense, just quiet respect. And somewhere in the middle of dinner, my little nephew turned to me and asked, Mama says you're the boss of a whole company. Is that true? I smiled. It is. He beamed. I want to be like you. And right then, I knew. I hadn't just rewritten my story. I changed how the next one would be told.